recorded and streamed live. A link is available on the Glamorgan Spring Bay Council website to the YouTube platform, where the public can view the meeting live and watch recordings of previous council meetings. In accordance with the Local Government Act 1993 and Regulation 33, these video audio files will be retained by council for at least 6 months and made available for viewing live as well as online within 5 days of the scheduled meeting. The written minutes of a meeting, once confirmed, prevail over the video audio recording of the meeting. I welcome councillors, staff and members of the public and declare the meeting open at 5:02. The Glamorgan Spring Bay Council acknowledges the traditional owners of our region and recognises their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I have an apology from Councillor Simons.
Yes, and an apology from Councillor Arnold. And I got a call from Councillor Arnold just recently, or just not that long ago, and she was very upset because, and she wanted it noted that she's not coming to the meeting tonight because she opened an email, an abusive and horrendous email threatening with regards to Cambria Green. So she was clearly distressed and couldn't make the meeting tonight, so she therefore sends her apologies.
The General Manager, Mr Schroeder, we have Council's Executive Officer, Rachel Garrett. Yep. Garrett, sorry, Rachel. And Council's Planner, Ms. Bevilacqua. Getting better. And Chris. I request elected members to indicate whether they have, 1, any interest personally or via a close associate as defined in section 49 of the Local Government Act 1993, or any conflict as described in Council's Code of Conduct for Councillors in any item included in the agenda. Item 2.1, special meeting of Council, October 16, 2019. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Churchill.
The minutes of the special meeting of Council held Wednesday, 16th of October 2019 at 5:30 p.m. be confirmed as a true and correct record.
Somebody to second. Councillor Browning. Phone on, Councillor Churchill.
Yeah, but I'm probably speaking softly again. I get accused of that all the time.
Comment on the minutes? The motion, all those in favour? It's unanimous, thank you. Item 2.2, Ordinary Council Meeting, October 22nd, 2019. A motion, please. Councillor Pye.
The motion is that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of Council held Tuesday the 12th of October 2019 be confirmed as a true and correct record.
Just clarify, that's 22nd of October, wasn't it?
2019, that's right,
yes.
22nd of October.
Thank you.
Yes.
Somebody to second? Councillor Browning, sorry. Any comment? Councillor Browning?
I went through, back through the recording, and on page 15, Mr Colin Stevenson with his question 2, the minutes stated the 20...
Pick your speaker up, it's really echoing, lift it a bit or something. Please. Thank you.
The minutes stated the 27th of August 2017, but on the recording Mr Stevenson actually said the 22nd. It's his accent, I think, was
That should be
22nd of August. Yep. And on page 50, section 24, decision 194/19, the motion was to note, not receive a note at the start in the minutes. And page 114, nothing was mentioned about all the acknowledgements of all the certificates.
Is that page 114?
Yep.
So that was the Tidy Town acknowledgement of all the certificates?
Yep. and there was nothing mentioned in the minutes for those. And on page 47, the last paragraph, there was a question, and I don't, through the mayor to the general manager, about Pulchella Community Nursery. Is it part of Glamorgan Spring Bay Council? That was taken as a question on notice, but there was nothing, so that the general manager could look back. So I just thought I'd bring that up. And also on page 52, there was a report from Jim Walters that there was drought assistance funding, but council, I don't know as we're aware of that particular drought assistance funding. So that was another question on notice to the general manager.
That wasn't drought assistance funding, that was saying,
Ah.
that was about 10,500 being transferred from
Oh,
the
that's right.
recreation ground,
Yep.
and which was funds that council allocate. We asked what was that 10,500 for, and the fact that that money wasn't there to be transferred by a committee, that was given for a purpose, not to be transferred out if it's not needed. So there is a question there to be answered though, what's that money for? The $10,500 that's given.
Yep.
Okay, so councillor Pike, and Browning, are you happy with those amendments? Hold on a moment. Are you happy with those suggested?
Amendments.
Yes?
Yes, these ones here, you're talking about?
Yeah, this is,
I've been following you, yes, that's right, and that was to receive a note, as stated in the minutes, was not to note, you're right, that's what I was following, yes, I am happy with those.
Okay.
Yes.
Councillor Brenny?
On page 75, there is a note, Councillor Simons left the council meeting room. The decision was carried 8 votes to 0, including Councillor Simons. Just needs to be sorted out that Councillor Simons shouldn't have been listed as one of the 4 voters, and the vote was 7-0. The same issue applies on page 104. Myself, I left the room and the motion was carried 8 votes to 0 again. Just needs typos to be sorted out.
Yeah, it should be 7-1.
Yeah. Otherwise, fine, thank you.
No, 7-0, sorry. Yeah. Councillor Pike and Browning, you recall that you're fine with that?
Yes, I am, I can see what's happened.
Any further? Councillor Churchill?
Yeah, there's a similar one on page 76, I think, isn't there?
I think we just referred to that one.
Oh, okay, I thought it was 75, that's okay.
46 as well.
Oh, 75 and 76.
yeah.
Sorry, yeah. Okay, you're both happy, Councillor Pike and Browning? With those few amendments, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. 2.3 is workshop held October 22nd, 2019. The agenda is in this document, and 2.4 is a workshop held November the 12th, 2019. And there's a recommendation there that council notes that information. At this point, I'll bring to the table, there's a late agenda item that would be put in at 3.3 if council agrees with this late agenda item. I will ask the General Manager to advise why this matter is important to consider this evening.
So item 3.3 has been submitted as a late agenda item under Local Government Procedures Section 8, 6B, as it needs to be considered urgently to meet statutory requirements.
Timing, yep, it's
The
the
timing
timing,
of the
isn't it?
statutory
Yep,
requirements, yes.
I'll move that council accepts the inclusion of later agenda item 3.3 in the November ordinary meeting of council agenda dated 26th of November 2019.
Okay, so move to second, councillor Churchill. All those in favour? It's unanimous, thank you. So that item will go in as 3.3. Just at this point, even though it goes back a little bit, I just want to note that the agenda for the 22nd of October didn't list the decisions of the council special meeting on the 16th of October. So I think a note needs to be put in with that agenda to keep track, in the tracking document, to keep track of the motions in correct order. So I think a note needs to be put in there. And at this point, in relation to today's agenda, if you go to the planning section, we've got two 3.1s listed on page 3. So the second one should be 3.2. And should say DA 2019 019, not 014. There's a duplication there, so it needs to be 019.
Could you just clarify for me, in the agenda under the, I think the second item, it's listed as SA subdivision, SA 219014, which is now 019. Is it SA or DA?
Okay.
And the first one, 2019014, that should be SA as well? Thank you.
Okay, so we need to, 3.1 should be SA, 3.2 should be SA, 2019/019. We've got the inclusion of 3.3.
Sorry,
where's the 3.3?
3.3 is a late agenda item. Okay, we're all caught up?
So,
Okay, item 3. Oh,
Nell, who is responsible for these, has gone for the day, so she's not here to answer any questions on this one.
we'll see how we go. I have full faith in you. Okay, item 3, Planning Authority section. Under Regulation 25 of Local Government Meeting Procedures, Regulation 2015, the chairperson I hereby declare that the council is now acting as a planning authority under the provision of the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993 for section 3 of the agenda. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Browning.
the council now act as a planning authority at 17.
5:17 p.m.
Yep.
And somebody to second, councillor Pike. All those in favour?
Oh, sorry.
Unanimous, thank you. Item 3.1, SA 2019/014, 5 Tasman Highway, Orford. We start on page 12. The recommendation can be found on page 22. No, it can't be.
29.
Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Brenny?
Pursuant to Section 57 of the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993 and the Glamorgan Spring Bay Interim Planning Scheme 2015, the application to subdivide the land at 5 Tasman Highway, CT 242468/1, into one lot plus balance be approved, subject to the following conditions. 1 through to 36 plus advice.
Do you second that? Councillor Browning? Councillor Churchill?
Through the Mayor, I just ask our planner, was there any allowance made for green space in this subdivision? And is there a need to be in such a small subdivision?
There's a requirement for public open space, but on a small subdivision like this, you take the payment of cash in lieu,
Okay,
which is a
it's
condition
covered.
that actually isn't in
Oh.
the report and needs to be.
Oh, right.
Thank you. Nice pick up, Councillor Churchill. So would you have a recommendation for wording for that addition?
Prior to the sealing of the final plan of survey, a cash contribution for public open space
This should be typed in as we go, so we can see it.
so prior to sealing the final plan of survey,
Would this be going in as what number?
it can go in after
37.
At 37?
37, yes. So, a cash contribution for public open space must be provided to council that is equal to 5% of the value of the area of land in the whole plan subdivision as at the date of lodgement of the final plan or survey. Then there's a little bit of an add-on to there, line space, down, return, yep. The value is to be determined by a land valuer within the meaning of the Land Valuers Act 2001.
9, I think, was it?
What was the date there?
2001.
Oh, 1, sorry.
You've checked that? That's correct.
Can't read it from here.
Come closer. Come closer.
Just after the agreement, prior to sealing of the final plan survey. Of plan of subdivision. Second line from the bottom, down. Plan of. As at the date of lodgement of final plan survey. Yep.
Okay. Nothing further on that to the planner, nothing further?
No, I don't think so.
No further questions, councillor Churchill? Councillor Brennan?
I'm happy with that amendment.
Councillor Browning?
Yep.
No further questions? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. 3.2, SA 2019/019 RA. Ribbon Road, Alford. Sorry, I just want to check something. It's actually RA 39, just to be clear there. So if we can have that altered there for RA 39 on the front description there. Okay, the recommendation is on page 64. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Churchill.
I move that pursuant to section 57 of the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993 and the Glamorgan Spring Bay Interim Planning Scheme 2015, the application to subdivide the land at RA 39 Rebben Road, CT 65080/1 into 20 lots plus roadways to be approved, subject to the following conditions 1 to 45.
Somebody to second that motion, please. Councillor Green. Open for discussion. Councillor Churchill.
It's through the Mayor. It is condition 19, we have to make a decision there. Is that correct, through the Mayor, to Robert, to our planner?
Through the Mayor, it's not, this is a decision, the developer can do either one or the other of these, whichever they want to do.
So they both comply,
Yep.
and there's
Their
a
options.
choice,
Yes,
either or.
And that is the developer's right to do that, not our right to choose? Do we-
yes, no,
That's the developer's right,
they're
okay.
considered equal in
Right.
terms of impact, but the developer can choose which one they would like to go by.
And if I may ask one further question of the planner, please. On condition 25, it says a road reservation at least 15 metres wide must be provided, and it's being put in as a pedestrian access. If that all occurs, which is still only a recommendation, so that has to happen, does it? It has to go in that space?
If we agree, if council agrees to the
To the conditions? Yes.
yes.
Now, who will ultimately pay for the development of that roadway? Is
the
that
developer.
the current developer or the developer who
Current.
develops the next
The next,
stage? Because they'll only have it in as a footway.
yes.
So if it then is converted to a roadway, who pays for that? Because this may occur, 10 years down the road,
There
and
are.
it may be the developer doing the next block who would be
Yes,
up for that. I think that just needs to be clarified and
Yes.
covered
that's
as
right.
so that it doesn't become an expense to council.
I'll have to take that question on notice.
So the question that you've taken on notice is not going to alter the decision? Does it impact on the decision
Well,
of the planning
Because it's one
authority?
of the conditions, if council agrees to approve the proposal, then yes, it will have an impact.
It will impact?
Can we just amend the condition now?
but no, the planner said wish to take it on notice.
Mm.
So, can you just repeat your, yeah?
I suspect at that point, if it's 10 years down the track, when 49 Ribbon Road is developed, then the new roads of 39, the cul-de-sac, and what is currently a pedestrian way, will be given to council, transferred to council. Those internal roads are usually transferred to council. So when the time comes for 49 Ribbon Road to be subdivided, council will probably need to pay that proportion of road in number 39 to change it from a footway to a roadway.
So can we, through the Mayor, can we build that in now so that that's actually done and developed now as a roadway so that it isn't an incurred cost for council?
Yeah, through the Mayor, yes, that can happen. In fact, the reason I said that it could only be constructed as a footway at the moment, but changed down the track, was to make it a bit cheaper, I suppose, for the developer at this point. But if the option is down the track, council has to pay for it. I guess it's a good idea to get the developer to pay for it now.
And is it appropriate, sort of future-proofing our costs, really? Is that a normal, that's appropriate?
Yes, it's in line with a lot of the provisions in here about connectivity of roads. It's to ensure that down the track, people living in these cul-de-sacs can actually get between the cul-de-sacs without coming out, going along, going back in. It's in a lot of the provisions.
So what would you propose? We need some changes to the wording here. Can you do that one off the cuff? Because is this the one that we've got to deal with today?
I think probably that last part, after the first sentence,
So which, can you just refer me to which?
condition 25 on
Thank you.
page 67.
67.
So the first sentence reads, a road reservation at least 15 metres wide must be provided in place of the pedestrian way to the eastern boundary with 49 Ribbon Road. That condition could just stop there.
Okay.
Or, actually, I'm sorry, I'm
No,
thinking
you're
of
right,
the
that's
spot
okay.
here. Prior to the sealing of the final plan of survey, to give a time frame to it.
Okay, so boundary is 49 Ribbon Road prior to the sealing of the
Final plan.
plan.
of survey.
And delete the rest.
Delete the rest. Could you please come close and view?
Make this one an off. I'm just thinking about this now, the reservation bit, because that doesn't require it to be constructed.
Which one are you looking at?
The same one where it says a road reservation, at least 15 metres wide. A road reservation doesn't mean that it has to be constructed.
So you want it to be constructed, like a road is to be constructed, of a certain standard?
Well, the road going to the east, to the west, to the bowls club, has a road reservation of 15 metres wide, but is only going to be constructed to a maximum width of, I think, 3.6 metres wide. So we could say, must be
So you still want a
and
road?
constructed,
Yeah.
and constructed to the same road. Oh, engineers. To the same standard as the access leading to the Orchard Bowls and Cricket Club.
Road access, that is,
Yeah.
not car park access.
No, it's a sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Could you read that, please?
A road reservation at least 15 metres wide must be provided in place of the pedestrian way to the eastern boundary with 49 Revan Road and constructed to the same standard as the road access leading to the Orford Bowls and Cricket Club prior to the sealing of the final plan of survey.
Thank you.
You're okay with that? Okay. So Councillor Brenny's happy, Councillor Churchill happy? with
Yes,
that?
I'm fine with those. Yes, thank you.
Any further comment or question?
Yes, if I...
Yes, Councillor
yeah.
Churchill.
This is just something for clarity, really. On page 61 in the representations, the response to the representations there on the right-hand side of the top, it says a new intersection will need to comply with council standards, including complying with site distances. This will most likely require the removal of a number of trees along the Revan Road frontage. I just want to know if those trees were on the block to be developed, or are they on roadway?
No, they're on the roadway, I believe.
Road reserve.
Yeah,
yeah.
on the
if
side
they're
of the road.
If they're on the roadway, then should that be once again included as a cost to the developer, or is that going to be a cost to the council to remove those trees? Go in as another condition to say that if they have to be removed, it would be at the cost of the developer.
Sorry, Councillor Churchill, just sorting out another matter.
Really okay?
So you're happy now?
Well, just subject to the planner's comments. I'll wait for our planner's advice.
Through the chair, at landscaping, condition 11, there's a requirement for road reserves and public open space to be landscaped by trees and plants in accordance with a landscape plan prepared by a landscape architect or other person approved by council, submitted to council for endorsement with the engineering drawings. I would presume, and this is just a presumption and probably a question to advice as to whether or not that landscape plan would take into account engineering requirements for line of sight, which is adequate sight distance.
Through the mayor, I don't think it would.
Okay.
This is referring to landscaping around the new bits of drive access inside the subdivision.
So it doesn't refer to the existing road reserve of Revan Road.
So do you have some proposed wording, Councillor Brenny?
I'm just wondering, well, I could, but I'm just wondering whether or not there's a requirement to include a condition in relation to clearing for stopping sight distance.
Is that part of the landscaping plan that does it need to be approved?
The landscaping plan?
Yeah,
It's-
by the
it
general
forms-
manager?
It forms part of the engineering drawings which are required once the subdivision development
And
drawing plans are.
does it say the endorsed engineering drawings by council's general manager?
It just says the
Engineering
submitted to
drawing.
council for endorsement with the engineering drawings.
Okay, that's probably maybe not ideal wording. Because normally it's to the satisfaction of council's general manager, which of course one will go to an engineer to get that
Yeah.
level of satisfaction. In normal words, from my past. You know,
So you'd prefer to have to the satisfaction of council's general manager?
well,
in
if
place
that's
of-
in there, then the line of sight can be taken into account in that.
Oh, I don't think this is the appropriate place to put the sightlines, because that's a requirement of roads,
Roads and access.
roads and access. I'm just trying to find the engineering condition that talks about line of sight. I'm not having much luck.
Through the chair, if I could point to condition 26, roadworks and drainage must be constructed in accordance with the standard drawings prepared by IPWE Australia and to the requirements of council's general manager. The standard drawings, I'm aware, do include site distance requirements.
Move your thing back, can you please?
Yes, through the mayor, I agree that there will be in here, in some of these requirements for drawings, the requirement to show lines of sight, the required lines of sight.
Okay, so it's covered.
Yes.
Through
Which
the
is
chair,
why
sorry, go on.
the comment in the right-hand column back there, where we started, what page was that? Yeah, the new intersection will need to comply with council standards, including complying with site distances. This is what the engineer has written in here, so he seems to be saying to me that that is already covered by the conditions in the permit, and it would be under those
Yes.
Australian standards. I don't think there's a need for another.
That's okay.
Okay.
Does that-
Councillor Churchill?
Yeah, sorry, but does that still cover the costs of removal within that by the developer?
Yes.
It does?
Yes.
Okay, I'm totally satisfied, thank you.
Yeah, because it's a condition of the permit.
Right, thank you. Excellent, thank you.
What condition is it, the removal of the trees?
It's, sorry,
Through the chair, there's no condition with relation to the removal of the trees, but there is a requirement to provide adequate site distance, which includes the removal of the trees.
Okay, so that makes sense, yep. Okay, no further questions? Oh, yes, councillor Pye.
Thank you very much, Mayor, through you, to Ms Bevilacqua. It's just on page 64 under 25 conclusion. I've read through the proposal and I note that it's underground fibre optic electric and everything, but just on that last line on the page 64 under 25 conclusion, it says, note that 23 modifies the proposal. When you go to Med 23, it says, new electric and fixed line telecommunications services, must be installed underground. Which part of 23 modifies the original proposal of underground electricity?
sorry, through the mayor, it's not condition 23.
Oh, sorry, what am I looking at? I beg your pardon.
Oh, was that in the report?
Under the telecommunications and electrical reticulation. What's that? Is that not a condition?
No, sorry,
That's page 64 to page 67 I've gone, so I'm
Okay,
confused
let
here.
the planner have a read.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I'm saying.
it's referring to the new condition about the road, the one we were discussing earlier. Yeah, it's condition 25, not condition 23.
Oh, okay, modifies the proposal, right. Thank you, so that's the error. Fine.
Do we need a modification into another one?
I need to change the number.
Okay, so which condition number are we changing?
We're changing, we're not, where was the, sorry, through the mayor, where was the councillor Pike
Yes,
reading from?
page 64, 25.
Ah, yes.
Note the condition, it said originally 23 modifies the proposal.
Yes.
You're saying that's now
That's
25.
25.
Thank you. Right.
Okay, so that's not that doesn't form part of this motion anyway. That's post the motion. That's a conclusion statement.
That's,
Yes, now I'm right. Now I'm fine. It's the,
Okay. Okay, no further questions?
thank you very much for the clarification.
If I may, through you to the planner or the general manager, with regards to some of the provided to council, there's a lot of notes about council. Should it be, like in condition 11, the road reserve and public open space must be landscaped by trees or plants in accordance with landscaping plan, blah, 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 and persons approved by council, or should that be by the general manager? And then it says, and submitted to council for endorsement with the engineering drawings.
It could be either. We could put general manager in
Yeah.
there.
Okay.
Mm.
And I have another,
Be
sorry?
faster
Yeah,
than having to come to a council meeting.
yeah,
They never come to a council meeting,
yeah,
ever.
that, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably delegated to the general manager, but generally it does say to the general manager.
yeah.
So that would have to be an amendment.
There's quite a few throughout it. I can provide those if you like later to,
We'll just note that on the
yeah, okay,
word
thank you.
now.
Now, with regards to the Taswater application, I'm a bit concerned with the amount of subdivisions that we are approving throughout the municipality in regards to water surety. And, you know, like we've been approving, to councillors, we've been approving subdivisions from all through the municipal area with no upgrades whatsoever to our water storage or our infrastructure. So I'm quite concerned about the amount of subdivisions we are, given that we have got ageing infrastructure with regards to water and sewerage. And it says here on page 66, Taswater, the development must meet the required conditions of approval specified by Taswater's submission to Planning Authority notice with numbers. Do you know, through you, Mayor, to Miss Valacqua, I do apologise.
The planner.
To the planner, sorry, that'd be easier. What Taswater's response was to these conditions. I'm really concerned about it, to be quite honest.
I can find the actual, I'll need to find it.
Thank you.
Sorry, it's loading.
Through the mayor, I'm just wondering, the question being asked is, are you asking, councillor, if Taswater is adequately assessing the ability to provide subdivisions with water?
With regards, if I may, Mayor, with regards to this, you know, our water storage there's been no actual improvement on that since it was built all those years ago, and we have continued to infill land or subdivide, and with no infrastructure improvements with regards to water. It doesn't just happen at Orford, it's happening in Swansea and right across. And it concerns me greatly that, you know, we are approving these subdivisions, and water is it's quite critical at the minute.
Just before you answer, my only concern here that's an external agency to council who, like I know they've got very stringent modelling that takes place in respect to water. I don't know when the last time I was on any water restrictions. I think it's been a long time. I know that at Swansea there's 12 months water supply up there. There was no rain for 12 months, and so I think if the council has received that advice from Taswater, it doesn't. You know what I mean? I don't think that it is planning criteria for now. It might be a conversation we have with Taswater management, at a workshop or something.
Yep, if I may, Mayor, I do understand what you're saying, but I still have concerns, and I just want it to be, I'm just putting it out there to say that I have concerns with the management of our water, being that it's, we are in drought and it's critical, and I appreciate that it's a different department, but it still needs to be noted, I think.
So, through the Mayor, I've got the conditions here. There's 5 conditions. None of them deal with the source of water and whether it's adequate or not. The first one deals with a suitably sized water supply with metered connections and a sewerage system, and connections to each lot must be designed and constructed to Taswater's satisfaction. 2 is any removal, supply and installation of water meters and or the removal of redundant and or installation of new and modified property service connections must be carried out by Taswater at the developer's cost. 3 is prior to commencing construction, any water connection, I'm summarising, any water connection utilised for the development must have a backflow prevention device and water meter installed. 4 is prior to the sealing of the final plan of survey, a consent to register a legal document must be obtained. 5 is about fees due to Taswater for registering a legal document. So none of them deal with the actual quantity of water that's available in the municipality.
Okay.
Thank you. Yep.
Okay, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? Councillor Breeny, Browning, Pike, myself and Churchill against. Deputy Mayor Woods. Motion's carried. Moving on to item 3.3, which is the late agenda item. Could I have a motion, please? The motion's on the top of page 1. Or recommendation is on the top of page 1. Councillor Pike?
Pardon me. The motion that the council accepts the inclusion of the late agenda item 3.
Oh, wait, no, sorry, that's
sorry.
wrong. I'm telling you wrong.
73.
Page 73.
Over the
Beg your
page.
pardon,
No, that's my fault. I read the wrong one.
I see.
I told you the wrong one. So page 73, under the recommendation is,
I can see that, fine. That A, the Planning Authority resolves that a copy of the representation attachment B and this report be forwarded to the Tasmanian Planning Commission in accordance with section 39 in brackets 2 in brackets A of the former provisions of the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993. B, the Planning Authority resolves under section 39(2)(b) of the former provisions of the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993 to advise the Tasmanian Planning Commission that it considers the merits of the presentation received do not warrant modification to draft amendment AM 2019/02. C, the Planning Authority resolves under section 39(2)(c) of the former provisions of the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993 to advise the Tasmanian Planning Commission that it considers the draft amendment AM 2019/02 /02 be modified for reasons specified in this report in accordance with attachment 2C.
I think attachment A, B and C would probably go in there, councillor Pike, because I think it'd form part of the...
Attachment A, beg your pardon. Attachment A, amendments document. Attachment B, representation. And attachment C is a recommended modified draft amendment.
Can we just second that? Councillor Browning? Open for discussion?
Chair, it seems that the representation, first of all, the fact that this is being forwarded to the Tasmanian Planning Commission for assessment is heartening, considering their thoroughness. And I think the representation mainly focused on the issue of the biodiversity overlay. In the report, it was addressed that although the removal of a number of trees was noted, it was concluded that there was enough vegetation remaining that was of sufficient quality to retain the protective status afforded by the application of the overlay, which I think needs to be something that the planning authority would look at, because they're going to be looking at the resolution, and the fact that there was none next door, which is another issue that was raised in the representation, would be considered by the planning authority as well. But I have no problem in supporting the recommendation as it's been stated, mainly because it's something that we're just forwarding to the planning authority to verify, and I'm sure that they'll give a reasonable look at the development.
Okay. I found this one quite difficult to work out, and I think a part of it was trying to work out attachment A, B and C, because they were split up. And then I wondered, should the descriptions of attachment A be like amended documents dash copy of council decision /19, you know, the actual description of what it is, and the other document that is part 3 certified amendment, and then there's also part 2 supporting report, and then under attachment C, it shouldn't say recommended modified draft amendment, it is the modified draft amendment. Because that's what the document's called. It's not called a recommended modified draft amendment. So I can read you out those if there's any interest in making that clearer, but to me, I needed to make that clear in my head, you know what I mean, because I found it quite confusing. So do you want me to read those words?
Mayor, you're talking about page 73?
Yeah.
Yep, A, B and C.
Yes. I just found it quite confusing as to what these documents were, and they were sort of split up amongst this report or this item. So, like amendment documents, if there was a dash copy of council decision /19 to 25 June 2019, that's the description of that document. And then the other description is part 3 certified amendment. And then there's a part 2 supporting report.
So I'm looking at recommendation A.
The attachments I'm referring to.
Okay.
The recommendation.
Yes.
I'll just get them typed up and you can have a look what I'm referring to. I just think it makes it clearer.
So the recommendations A, B, C.
All that stays, it's making it clear as to what the attachments are
Yes. Yeah, I
and
understand.
taking out an incorrect word.
Chair, is there a number for that decision? It says attachment copy of council decision /19. Is there a number for that decision? 25th June 2019.
Was there a copy of the decision? Sorry, I've lost
Page
mine.
74, top of the page.
Yeah, is there a copy of the decision amongst it?
Yeah, it's only got a slash as well.
So the council decision would have been AM 2019/02, rezone 23 Harvey Farm Road. That would have been that decision, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that probably should go in as part of, that would make more sense again, wouldn't it?
I think this is AM 2019-02, is this? That's the application.
Where is the copy of council decision /19/25 June 2019?
Be on 77, I think.
Page 77.
Because the decision number hasn't been put in.
That's right, not on there as well.
Okay,
We
Do we-
just need to source that and amend it.
okay, that's going to have to be put in to be made clear.
That'd be that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but the decision number doesn't run like that. It's the decision, you know, 64/19, whatever. And I haven't got the document here. So I assume we can put that in, you know, the relevant number placed in there.
Presentations.
Attachment A, copy of council decision, yeah, and that number will go in. Part two, part two supporting, part three certified amendments, and take out recommended and modified draft amendment. Okay, is everyone happy with that? I think that
Understand
matches.
everything?
Yes. Okay, and we'll pop that number in once known.
Yes.
Okay, who moved and seconded this?
I moved it.
Oh, yeah, councillor Pike and councillor Browning. So are you happy?
Yep.
with that?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
I
no
understand
further
it now.
questions? Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? It's unanimous, thank you. Under Regulation 25 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulation 2015, I hereby declare that the council is no longer acting as a planning authority under the provisions of the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993 for Section 3 of the agenda. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Churchill.
The council no longer acts as a planning authority at 6 p.m.
And councillor Pike, the second. All those in favour? It's unanimous, thank you.
Mayor, may I just make a quick comment there, please? I just wanted to, despite all the questions that we've given to our planner this evening, I did want to make the point that the two plans that you put up were very professionally done.
Oh, thank you.
That was one of the hardest planning I've ever gone through in 5 years, so well done. Yes, and well done to the planner. We're moving on to public question times. So I've checked with, I've had a word with the Deputy Mayor and the General Manager in respect to this matter, and I'm looking at the meeting procedures, public question time, section 31B, sorry, 31(2)B, which says invite any member of the public present at the meeting to ask questions relating to the activities of the council. I was advised prior to the meeting commencing there was somebody who wished to ask a question, but they weren't present. So the question I asked both was in relation to the words here, invite any member of the public present at the meeting to ask questions. So normally, as you know, I'll walk around and ask anybody got a question prior to the meeting starting. There is nothing here to say that during this period I can't ask that question right now, and if you've got a question you can ask a question. So even though we haven't done that in the past, but I've been made aware, as I say, prior to the meeting starting, that was a request. So the General Manager feels there is no reason why that can't occur. So I'll start with Sue O'Rourke, Mrs O'Rourke.
So, at the Tribunner Community Connect meeting, a question was asked regarding evacuation points in the event of a major disaster on the East Coast. There was some doubt as to where these evacuation points are in each town. I've been told of 2 separate points in Alford. Is there an evacuation coordinator in each town? Also, has some thought been given to having a list of former emergency and medical personnel who have the necessary skills to back up our current emergency people? And 3, where will the general public and tourists be able to access evacuation information in these towns? Town meetings, notice boards, council website and emergency service websites. Would you like to pass that along?
I'd actually go to the chair first. Okay. I'm going to hand that to the General Manager because that is operational.
Okay, thanks for that question. Reading through the issue, you've actually raised some really good points. At the moment, we're currently reviewing our emergency management plan. We'll probably also be incorporating some climate change aspects into that out of interest, but in regards to these points, we're basically considering these and we'll be looking at releasing something at the start of the new year. But I certainly welcome that because there are extra points that we can consider when we do develop it. What's being developed now, but we'll take that into account. Thanks a lot for that.
Thank you.
Okay, so, further, again, I'm going to go around the room. Anyone have a question? John Ryan. John Bagg. Okay. Any further questions? Don Payton. I'm going well with names. Okay. John Ryan.
Through the Mayor, could Council please provide the dollar value borne by ratepayers of the plans prepared by Gilby Bruin for the Orford Sandspit recreation area for a proposed bird sanctuary?
Okay, just stop there. To the General Manager.
With that one, John, I don't have the figures to hand at this point, but I'm more than happy to supply those.
Thanks, Chris. And one other question, if I may, through the Mayor. Could Council please provide the cost amount of Council resources in developing this plan over a 2 or 3 year period?
General Manager.
We'll also provide that. That may be more of an estimate than a specific one, but we'll come back with a figure on that, John.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay, John Bagg.
Can the council provide the written approvals from the Minister for the erected structures on Orford Sandspit recreation area, stages 1, 2 and 3?
General Manager.
We'll also be able to provide that, John, on notice. Thanks.
Thank you, Chris. And one other quick question. Can the council confirm at which meeting the amended DA approved to relocate the river mouth from the north to the south of the Sandspit occurred?
Okay, so yep, that would have been through mediation process. So yes, we can give you that information. So if it wasn't through, from my recollection on that, John, it wasn't through, it didn't come back to council. It was mediated and a decision was made through that process, but we can certainly give that information as to how that decision was made and by whom.
Thank you.
Mr Payton?
Thank you, Mayor. The question I'd like to pose in relation to the Sandspit area is there's recently been put some bunting up or warning signs to suggest that the area is contaminated. Could the council advise what the form of that contamination is? There's a notice there to suggest that you contact the health department. I've tried 7 times, no one's ever available, and the person responsible doesn't answer or return your call.
Okay, Mr Schroeder?
Yeah, so I guess that's a two-part question. So first off, the concerns haven't been totally identified or confirmed, I should say, at this point, like the degree of concentration. We're talking about hydrocarbons associated with the old petrol station that was there. There seems to be a bit of a seepage of that petrol over an extensive area. It hasn't been fully assessed, but they've pretty much been, we put up that advice on we put up the bunting and the signs on the advice of the EPA. It's pretty much an ongoing concern that the Diamantes family are responsible for and assessing. Council's role in this is to pretty much just make sure that that process continues. Our legal advice was not to interfere with the process or take it over, because it's actually the responsibility of Diamantes. And what was the second part of your question? I think there was a second part to it.
Oh, well, the main part of the question was that we haven't been able to get a result of what the contamination is, hydrocarbons, because our understanding is that it's mostly to do with lead contaminated petrol, which hasn't been available for some time. So, you know, the generalisation to say that do not enter, it could be dangerous because it's contaminated. You could suggest that a sand spit was contaminated because it had gravel on it. We've got no idea of what that contamination is, and it worries some people as to what it could be.
Yeah, and certainly when you said about not being able to get through to that number, we actually did receive advice that they were happy to take calls on that and supply that advice as part of their responsibility. So I'm just disappointed to hear that you're not getting through there.
Maybe you can try tomorrow, Mr General Manager, and see if you've got
sounds
any
good.
luck.
Yeah, okay. Happy to do that.
Is that your only question, Mr
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank
Yes.
you. Oh, there's also a question there from Mrs Robin Moore on behalf of the Dolphin Sands Ratepayer Association. That was a question on notice, and there's a response there from the General Manager. Moving on to item 5, which is information reports. They run from page 74 to 109. Thank you. So, any questions?
Just a comment of clarity on page 85. Could we just remove the line that says Bicheno Dog Exercise Yard developed?
On that matter, I don't think we can remove it as such, possibly put a line through it, just for the purpose of transparency. We're not doing it, so maybe it just needs to more so, you know, yeah.
That's what I'm alluding to, yes.
But on that very matter, further in on the motion tracking, and it's not actually in the motion tracking document, so that's a point I'm going to bring on later, because whilst that item's not being done, there was a motion put that those funds are spent on another item, so that other item may come in and replace this description.
Yes.
So, yeah, we just need some clarity there as to where that's at, I think.
I had another, just a quick question there on page 95. There just seems to be a dogs at large, 14 for the month, and there's only 26 for the whole year. I'm wondering what's going on here. Why have we suddenly got either extra dogs at large or extra dogs being reported at large? Any comment from that to the General Manager through the Mayor.
Councillor Churchill, I don't really have any specifics on that one. I can only speculate. I wonder if our current state of our dog policy might have contributed, but that's pure speculation. I might need to come back to you on that one, come back with an answer for you.
Thank you.
Councillor Pike?
Yes, I stand to be corrected here, but it's through you to the General Manager. Page 79, under the Human Resources Health Safety Incident Reporting Process, I can see the colour codes and what they mean and the years they apply. I'm very just interested though in under the accident incident, and I've brought this up before regarding stress. The last time any stress was reported in the council that an incident form came in was in the year 16-17. Nothing has come in since. Not at all. Nothing recorded by this. Like that. With all, I think with the last few years of my feeling, my understanding.
Councillor Pike, could you just turn your microphone off? Push it up in the air a bit, that thing. Yeah, that's right. And no, it's just echoing. And now turn it back on. And keep going. Thank you.
It's just this 12 months has been a huge change for everybody in council collectively, and it just surprised me that we haven't had any more than that in the last few years. I was just wondering if there's anything you could add to that and tell me if I'm reading it wrong.
Keith, I think that's actually a pretty good pickup. I am aware of a couple of weeks that need to go in here. I'm not sure if we just missed this time zone, but I'm aware that we're going to need to be adding to this. There's definitely 2 weeks that I'm aware of in recent times. Good pickup. We'll revise that, or at least have it reflected better in the next one.
Thanks.
Good call.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's important, as we're all aware, that we, So thank you. Thanks very much for your answer.
We've got some questions on page 85. A question on the dog exercise yards. Do we know when they will be commenced?
The dog exercise yards themselves. What's the scenario with those? I don't have that date to hand. I'll have to come back to you on that, unfortunately.
Because in the Manager of Buildings and Marine Infrastructure, they're not listed there at all yet. They're part of the Drought Communities Program. So, and it's, yeah, so that's one. The other one is on that same page. It's got municipal one at the bottom there. It's got event, allocation for education. The government funding's been reduced to 0, which is the pink in the pink.
Yeah, right, okay.
Over here. So that was endorsed by council at 30, but Mr Andrews recently had an event, and the other point there is it says it's reduced to 0, but 20% on the progress is at 20%.
Yeah, right, okay.
So, yeah, I know Mr Andrews has got to come out of that funding.
Yeah, definitely. That was, I think the end result was at somewhere around $25,000 to $28,000 spent for that.
What's that? 28,000
I think it was about 25.
for Mr Andrews.
I believe it was. That I had heard.
No,
Okay.
try 5.
Okay. It's nowhere near that.
No. So maybe you could check that.
I'll check
The Triabunna Club rooms. It's not budgeted, and it's just been entered in there.
I know when this document was created, there was some discrepancies with a couple of these figures as to what they originally were recorded at and what they had been amended to. I know there was some confusion over that.
This one says Triabunna Club rooms carried forward from 18-19, $29,000 spent, not budgeted.
Could you tell me what page you're on, please, ma'am?
Still on page 85.
85.
So council haven't approved that, but it's shown up in this document.
So carried forward from 18-19 last financial year.
Mm-hmm.
Year to date, budget. I think I've got another question to ask about that.
So under section 82.5, it's a breach of 82.5
Okay.
because it just can't show up.
Yep.
And I have another question on page 86. We've got gravel roads general budget. The approved budget was 225,000. Year-to-date expenditure is 200. You see it?
Yep.
The year-to-date expenditure is, so we've approved 225, we've spent 231, and it's still in progress.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure when this document was originally created, it was more so to give us some sort of insight as to how we were going with most of the projects. And at the time when we discussed it in a workshop, we talked about the idea of percentages. I'm not even sure that this is the latest copy of this document, to be frank, but yep. I'll also work out why we've got an extra $6,700 there.
So my concern there is that it's in progress, that it looks
Yeah.
like there's more money, more bills to come in. We've gone over the budget. There's no report.
Yeah.
And we're only 5 months into the financial year, and this is a 12-month approval figure. So, you know, how does that fit with us for the next 7 months in
Yeah.
gravel needs?
Yeah, it's looking like it's been under budgeted based upon this data team at this point. The original amount is not, it looks like it's an inadequate amount at this point, doesn't it? That's how it's suggested.
More has been spent than what was approved to be spent.
Yeah,
So, under the Act, that needs to come back to council. The bill just can't keep going up.
for sure. Yep. Okay.
On page 96, so under the profit and loss, it says for the 2 months ended the 31st of August. I think you'll find that's the 4 months ended the 31st of October.
Yeah.
If that could just be amended to be clear, because I checked
Yeah.
and the costs have gone up, so I assume it is to the 31st of October. Oh yeah, I took a copy actually of the previous one. And the other item is on page 98, which is, sorry, down the bottom, the emergency support workshop. So my question is this workshop for anyone, councillors, anyone at all to attend?
It's a general workshop for anyone anyone to attend, as far as I can see of it.
So I sort of read it like that, but then it's not on council's website, so then I thought maybe it's not,
So I think we need to get onto the council website then.
and in the notice board, because otherwise nobody's really going to attend.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really good opportunity. If you could let councillors know that too, because I'll personally go,
Yeah, well, okay.
as being part of that emergency team.
Yep.
That's all my questions. Any further questions? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. Just a comment with regards to the Kelvedon boat shed. I do drive past it quite often, and seeing what it was and now what it's looking like now, it's fantastic, and I'd just like to congratulate all that were involved in bringing it back up to its former glory.
Yes,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Councillor Churchill?
Yes, Mayor, I just wanted to make the comment that the two-day session with Peter Andrews and over 30 people involved in that education was, I think, a very successful 2 days and a very successful program. Thank you.
I've had really good feedback too from one of the farmers that attended. Okay, so could I have a motion, please? It's on 109.
I move that the management reports be received and noted.
Okay, second, Councillor Browning, all those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Item 6.1, Prosser River Advisory Group, could I have a motion, please? Councillor Browning.
I move that council receive and note the draft minutes of the Prosser River Advisory Group dated the 20th of September 2019.
And somebody to second, Councillor Breeny. Open for discussion. Could that motion please be amended and remove the word draft, because it's not draft, they've been endorsed. So do you have any problem with removing the word draft from that?
No.
Neither, okay. Any comment? Okay, I'll put the motion, all those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Item 7.1, draft policy use of electronic devices. Could I have a motion, please?
I'll move that council adopt the policy attached to this report and titled Use of Electronic Devices.
Somebody to second that? Councillor Churchill. Open for discussion. I would like the people who moved and seconded that motion to consider something more that council, because these motions have to stand on their own. It should be something like that council adopts a policy use of electronic devices version 3 dated the 26th of November 2019.
Okay, so with Councillor Churchill's approval, I will move that council adopts the policy use of electronic devices version 3 dated 26th of November 2019.
Councillor Churchill?
That's fine.
And I may as well just keep talking here. So the date on this document is 31st of October in the top corner. That needs to be changed to today's date if this is what's going to be endorsed.
26th.
The review date under that should be November 2023. It's normally reviewed for 4 years, but they also have to be reviewed by the next council within the first 12 months of their term. So that's where that date comes in. And that's all the comments I have. Any further comments? No. And, the people who moved and seconded that, are you happy with those
Yes.
amendments?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, no further comment, I'll put the motion, all those in...
Excuse me.
Yes.
Chair, given the speed and changes to technology, is it possible that we need to make sure that this policy is able to be reviewed at any time?
It can be. You can review it next meeting.
Thank you.
You can review it every meeting. Okay, I'll put the motion, all those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Item 7.2, Coles Bay Volunteer Fire Brigade. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Churchill.
The council considers approving a grant of $500 to the Coles Bay Volunteer Fire Brigade towards the cost of conducting their annual Christmas Day lolly run in Coles Bay.
Would you second? Councillor Breeny. Open for discussion. Again, the motion, you might like to consider something like the council approves a grant, not considers, that's what we're here for. We actually would be approving a grant, that council approves a grant of $500 to the Coles Bay Volunteer Fire Brigade towards the cost of conducting the 2019 Christmas Day Lolly Run in Coles Bay.
Yep.
To be more clear and concise as to the exact.
Happy with that.
Councillor Breeny,
That's fine.
thank you. Councillor Pike,
I'm just wondering, is there any clarification on what the $500 is going to be used for? I mean, petrol in the truck, $500 worth of lollies?
Lolly.
Sorry?
Generally speaking, if I may, Mayor, it's lollies.
Like $500 worth?
There's a lot of kids. Eat a lot of lollies.
But it does,
Okay.
Through the chair, it does say lolly run, and I presume it means anything associated with that function.
It's just a help.
It's a helping hand.
Gosh.
and like, there's over 400 houses in Swanwick now. Like, it's quite a big area up there now when you join up Coles Bay and Swanwick. Okay, any further comment? Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Councillor Breeny, Browning, Wisby, Deputy Mayor Woods and Churchill. Against, Councillor Pike.
Am I allowed to give a reason, Mayor?
Not, it probably should have been before.
Oh, okay, thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you for the advice.
7.3 schools end of year book
Oh,
prize.
I move that council approves the following grants for each school in our municipal area. Tribunna District School, $260. Bishno Primary School, $130. Swansea Primary School, $130. And Orford Primary School, $130.
Somebody who's second, Councillor Browning. Open for discussion.
Through the chair, just quickly, is there anybody who can tell me what the funds are spent on? They're spent on books, obviously, prizes, but how wide is it? Is it just council's contribution, or are there other books that are donated through other things? But it just seems that it's quite a modest amount in any sense for schools. I note that it's been in place. The previous amounts or existing amounts were 220 and 110, and they've been in place for 5 years. Books cost a lot of money, and I just wondered whether or not that was a rather modest number.
Well, I know at the Tribunna School, I know that Lynn Deegan and others, the Bendigo Bank, I think, there's others that donate, and I would assume there'd be the same at each school, that there are the annual people that donate, and then probably more, the once-off people who donate money or go and buy the book themselves and bring it in, they choose the book. So there are various people that donate,
Okay.
or businesses.
I'd be happy to support these amounts, knowing that presumably this would come back to us next year and the year after, and we could reconsider the amounts at that stage. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
If I may add to the recommendation with the who seconded?
Browning, Councillor Browning.
Councillor Browning, that council approves the following grants for each school in our municipal area for the purchase of books.
Councillor Browning?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So my comments here, so we've got now that council considers, did you say considers?
No, I didn't.
No, approves.
The council approves the following grants for each school in our municipal area for the purchase of books for their end of year event, isn't it?
For the end of year. Yes.
Event, and then it's whatever. And normally we would know what budget. Is this out of the events budget, or is this out of the, and sorry, I should have said that in the previous one too. Where's this money coming from? Events? Community small grants?
I would suggest that this one comes from the events budget, being that it's a end of school. And I know that the Coles Bay and the various other ones that we've got in here are events, so maybe they should all come from the events budget.
Well, it depends how much events budget we have. Do you know the answer to that?
Got it.
So are you happy to take it from the events budget? Because it doesn't, it says budget implication, there's nothing. Well, actually, the first, if we go back to 7.2, that says it's coming out of the community small grants, whereas this one's got nothing in there at all as to say where it's coming from. But I would expect it to come out of the events budget, and I think it needs to be stated that it's, yes.
So I was advised by the manager that there was surplus funds in that budget, so.
The events
yes,
budget?
The events budget.
Okay, so would you like to alter your,
So for the purchase of books
for the end of year?
for the end of year celebrations and the money to be coming from the events budget.
Councillor Browning?
Yep.
Okay, in the, oh, now I've got another question. So I've been to a lot of school end of year events, and I've seen people acknowledged on stage for their donation of books, but I've never heard the council or ratepayers being acknowledged for their donation. Have you?
No, and if I may, Mayor, I can't actually ever recall this coming to council for,
Ever?
yeah, I can't, this is the first time I've seen
Yep, absolutely.
this request come to council. I'm quite happy to support it, but this is the first time I've seen it come to council. So maybe we haven't donated books in the past, and that's why we haven't been acknowledged.
We must have
No, it says
donated
it.
books in the
It says
past.
it there.
It says.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
So I just think it's prudent that if we're going to be spending ratepayers' money, that the ratepayers need to be acknowledged, you know, at the time of the presentation of the books, like whether it's, you know, it's, that's where the donation's coming from. It's from council, who are the holder of the funds. But I think council, like with anything, if we donate money to the Coles Bay Volunteer Fire Brigade, I'd expect that they tell people that, you know, council paid money, donated ratepayers' money for this. So I think that, yeah, the ratepayers should, or council should be acknowledged for their donation
Yep.
at the events, and that could form part of the motion. Councillor Breeny?
I was wondering whether if it, when you say it could form part of the motion, or would it be prudent for us to just request the general manager to, in the notification of the motion, if it is carried, that the general manager request that council's contribution be acknowledged at the presentation,
Yep.
rather than part of the motion.
Yep. Well, it can be part of the motion, it can be a separate line, because we can't do that unless it's part of the motion.
Okay.
So, and that in a part of, the second
okay.
part of the motion could be, and that the general manager, whatever word you want,
Request that, yeah.
advises the schools in their letter that, what's your words?
Well, I would have thought, not rather advising them, we would just request
Yep.
the schools to acknowledge council's contribution.
Okay.
Excuse me. Should that be community's contribution rather than council's? Just to
Or ratepayers, you can call it ratepayers.
ratepayers. That might be it's
First
just
contribution, yeah, sure.
it's really who's contributing. Yeah.
It is,
Yes.
Yeah,
it is, it
Or
is
the
ratepayers.
community, whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Councillor Woods,
Mm-hmm.
that's okay in the form of a letter that goes with the,
Yep.
and councillor Browning?
Yes.
Well, if they don't acknowledge anyone at all, I don't say they should stand up and, you know, but if there is acknowledgement, there needs to be consistent acknowledgement, that's all I'm saying.
Yep.
Okay, I'll put the motion, all those in favour? It's unanimous, thank you. 7.4, consideration of place names. Can I have a motion, please, to discuss?
I'll move to discuss.
Somebody to second? Councillor Churchill? General Manager, do you have something?
Yeah, since this report was submitted, a bit of further investigation was undertaken, and it was actually established that these three names that have been put forward by the developer are not valid to consider because they're already in use, and there's some issues around them being personal names. Since that time, 2 names have been put forward as possible options for you to consider this evening. The first one is Waxflower Court, so Waxflower, one word, Waxflower Court. Second one, 2 words, Sweet Wattle Court. They're 2 possible options that have been established as being valid and available for use.
So just following up on that, Kunzia Court is the name of a plant up there, and Waxflower is another name of a plant in the area, as is Sweet Wattle.
That's correct.
So there is some connection there to plants in that particular area in respect to those names. Councillor Pike?
Thank you. I didn't press my- Would any of these join Kunzia? What did you just say?
Yeah, that one, comes off
They
that.
would come off that.
Yes,
Thank you. Thank
yeah.
you.
So it's within that subdivision.
Subdivision.
It's a cul-de-sac off that main road.
Thank you.
Okay, so there would need to be discussion and then
Yes.
a motion in respect to a favourite, if that's the way you wish to go.
Well, out of those two, I'll show a hand. Me, I'm going for Sweet Wattle Court. I would suggest that. That's my pick out of the 2 of those.
Fine as well.
I'm happy with Sweet Wattle.
Any further comments?
Waxflower,
So
Sweet Wattle.
could I have a motion, please? So it would be basically the recommend that the council endorses Sweet Wattle.
Yes. Would you like me to do that for you?
Yeah, sure.
The council considers...
No,
that-
endorses.
Oh, sorry, endorses, I beg your pardon. Endorses that the street name be called Sweet Wattle Court, and we'll submit that to the nomenclature board's December meeting.
Okay, yes, nomenclature, yes.
That's
Okay,
nomenclature.
somebody to second that? Okay, councillor Browning. Any further comment on Sweet Wattle? No?
No.
Okay, put the motion. All those in favour?
That's right.
Councillor Churchill, Browning, Pike, Wisby against. Deputy Mayor Woods. 7.5. Request to lock the netball court gates at Tribana. Could I have a motion, please?
Move that, considering the cost to the netball courts resurface and also a request being made from a member of the Section 24 Committee of Council Tribana Recreation Ground at 2 separate meetings, that the Tribana netball court gates be locked to protect the surface of the courts from unnecessary wear and tear from activities not pertaining to the sport of netball.
Can we do a second?
I'll second that one.
Open for discussion. Councillor Brenny?
With the permission of the mover and seconder, I consider the first 2 lines of that motion to be superfluous, and just the last line, that the Tribana netball court gate be locked, etc., would be more than sufficient. Having the reasons for it is presumably should be in the background rather than in the motion, in my opinion.
Mayor Woods?
No, I'm happy to keep it the way it is, thank you.
Okay, that settles that. So, any further comment? Councillor Churchill?
If I may, Mayor, I'd just like to know what sort of damage is actually being done to these courts, and is there evidence that we really need to lock them? I know we can probably adequately access them through a system of locks and keys available and all that sort of stuff, but to me there would need to be evidence that it was a need to lock them, because as I understand it, this is an open area. It's not like it's a building. It's an open court area So I'd just be interested to know that question.
General Manager, you've got details of damage?
I've got no details of damage to add, sorry.
Councillor Browning?
Oh, yeah.
Through the Mayor, and also maybe some signage to say, you know, that you're not allowed to use skateboards on it. I mean, maybe that might help initially as well, rather than just locking them.
So I was looking back on my emails over the weekend, and when Mr Daniel Smee was acting General Manager, February, March, this matter came up then, and the lock was put on the gate, and Daniel had the lock, Mr Smee had the lock removed, and he said that he was going to request that some signage is done and, you know, some less restrictive means was put in place. To my knowledge, that hasn't happened, and with the drought funding, and we've got another round of drought funding that's come up now, another $1 million, that possibly we could have a look at installing some security cameras up there, in addition to signage, because there isn't an awful lot for the kids to do in this area. Unlike the other towns, they don't have beaches, like Orford and so forth, and then the kids, you know, have to go somewhere to get a key to go all the way back up there. It's not as though it's central and in the town here. There's quite a, if you're on a bike or walking, it's quite a distance to get up to the netball ground without having to get up there and realise you need to go and find a key at the shop or wherever. So I think we've got an opportunity in respect to funding the video cameras, or alternatively funding them, or considering funding some cameras with our next budget in June, when that's discussed. But I'm not supportive of locking the gates, and if I think some signage and some cameras would probably be enough. If somebody damages them, then they need to pay for it. Hold on, Councillor Breeny, Councillor Pike, you're next.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Trying to help Councillor Churchill out. Skid marks, Councillor Churchill, they do wheelies on their little dirt bikes, and there's a perfectly beautiful dirt track on the same site over in the other corner, which they don't use. The scooters are coming out now, but I noticed they are using the cement scooter park over on the other side of the river. The other thing is, if we don't lock that, we then don't lock the tennis courts. So that will do double services and double expense to the council. So we really do need to consider your suggestion, Mayor, the cameras and the signs, because we can't have one locked and one not locked. I won't support that. So that's where I'm up to. So that's the issue we have. Those surfaces are quite soft. It's different with a sand shoe sliding over it when you're playing or anything like that. These kids do wheelies, and they, you know, and you've got these marks straight through the rubbery top, you know. And yes, I'm agreeing with Councillor W. Mayor Woods.
Councillor Breeny?
Yeah. On consideration, locking kids out of a recreation facility seems to be counterintuitive. Understanding that, of course, there will be a degree of vandalism. I think it's important to provide facilities that may go to preventing vandalism by keeping facilities like this open to people who want to use them validly. I know there's ways of doing that, but going and getting keys and allocating it, you know, having people do that sort of thing, keeping facilities open is, I think locking them just to stop people causing a problem in them is not necessarily a resolution of the issue. The resolution of the issue might be signage to a certain extent, to those who take notice of signs, not everybody, and where there are breaches of that and blatant breaches of it. CCTV might be the way to go, as long as it's handled in a sensible way.
And I also think about, you know, the problem with obesity, you know, and to lock up an opportunity for exercise. Yeah. Deputy Mayor Woods.
If I may, I'll close, seeing that I was the mover. Historically, these courts were locked, always were locked, and then over time, the courts became unlocked. These, there's been a total of nearly $60,000 spent on resurfacing. This is the second time these courts have been resurfaced that I know of over the years. It's not, I think that I take on board the comments that have been made today. However, I don't think that way. I don't see a lot of kids there anyway. However, when they are there, they're doing the wrong thing. When they go there, they are netball courts and like tennis courts. You know, the tennis courts have always been locked, and they are a public court. And so the reason I've put this in is because of the amount of money, not only spent by Glamorgan Spring Bay Council, but also Tas Community Fund and the Junior Netball Association. It's about preserving what we've got, and you talk about the obesity. Well, there's an oval right next door they can run around. But what I'm asking is that these courts be locked, preserve the surfaces, and consider that going forward, of a way going forward. Thank you.
Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Councillor Pike, Churchill and Deputy Mayor Woods against. Councillor Breeny, Browning and Wisby, the motion's lost. 7.6 Buckland Volunteer Fire Brigade. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Churchill.
The council approves a grant of $500 to the Buckland Volunteer Fire Brigade towards the cost of conducting the annual Christmas lolly run.
Would you second, please? Councillor Breeny. So, do you think from the Community Small Grants Program could go in there to be clear what funding?
Yes, it's implicated in the.
Yeah, but
Yes.
the motion is the motion. We shouldn't have to look back.
Yep, from
So-
the, yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be $500 from the Community Small Grants Program, cost of conducting the 2019 Christmas Lolly Run.
Yep.
It's just clear and concise. We know where the money's coming from and what it's for. Yes. Sorry, who seconded that?
Nobody.
Breen.
Sorry,
Councillor Breeny. Okay. Councillor Church, were you happy with that?
Yes.
And Councillor Breeny?
Yes.
Any conversation, discussion? Councillor Pike?
Yes, there is. This was something, I did some sums during when I was looking at all of this. Interesting. We have $18,600 left in that budget out of the $25,000 allocated. Hypothetically, if we approved every one of these tonight, we would spend $6,140. And if you take that off the $18,600 left, you've got $11,460. We still have 1 month. That's in 5 months, so we've got another 6 months to go, and we won't have the same amount as this thing. So that's a bit of concern for me.
Sorry, so what, I'll totally
Okay,
lost
half
with the
of
numbers.
25,000 is 12,500.
Yeah.
So let's look at that over the 1st of July to the 31st of December, the 6 months, hypothetically.
Yeah.
And if we approve all these tonight, we will have spent $11,460.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is we're very close to our full budget. So do you think we'll get anything in December? Oh yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
But what if we get another 6,000 next month?
This
is a worry to me. I just don't know
That's
how
fine.
to do it.
So, what I'll say here is Buckland Volunteer Fire Brigade, I cannot recall, can you recall this ever been given to the Buckland Volunteer Fire Brigade?
If I'll stand to be corrected, I think it may have been given last year. I'm not sure.
So I think.
No.
So we gave money to the Buckland Cricket Club.
Yep.
A bit of money, and that was the first time I think they've ever applied for money.
That's right.
And so I haven't got any issue with this. This is community. This is like many people in the community are having fun from this event. And I think we need to be careful with the amount of money. You know, I think we've got to be careful on the sheer, like, there should be an amount of money. But also I looked at this and I thought, well, there's not that many people live in Buckland, and $500 worth of lollies for the Buckland people is a lot of money. But then I read they go out to the farms and under the, you know, drought conditions at the moment and the way people would be feeling, I think it's a really positive thing. I understand what you're saying, but this is the season to be jolly, and I don't think it's a waste of
I
ratepayers'
wasn't
money.
suggesting that. I was looking
Yeah.
at it purely from a budget point of view
Yeah.
and a time frame.
Yeah. Councillor Brady?
Through the chair, could I just clarify? Councillor Pike said something on the lines of we've already just spent tonight thousands out of the
No, I said
community fund.
hypothetically, if we approved every one of these, there's 2,000 in the Coles Bay Half Triathlon. If we went through and hypothetically,
Yes, sir.
it adds to
Through the chair,
6,000.
through the chair, I think we've only approved it from the events budget, not from the community small grants budget so far.
So we've had one from the events budget, which was the school one. The rest of these are community small grants. So whether or not, and I think this needs to be probably the question of what's the purpose of the events budget, because you don't have the figure on what the budget is for the events budget, and this will go back to our operational budget review, because what is the purpose of the events budget when this is an event? You know, so it goes back to having that review and understanding of what money sits in that and what that money's used for. Because to me, this is an annual event in every town.
Yes, thank you.
Did that answer your question, councillor Brand?
Yes,
Probably
thank
not. I don't
Yeah, I made a mistake too. I thought they were all coming out of the events budget, but they were coming out of community small grants fund for the lollies.
Yes, and I think, as I say, maybe next year, well, we need to do our operational budget review, because that'll clarify this.
Thanks.
Okay, any further questions? No, put the motion, all those in favour? It's unanimous, thank you. Okay, Coles Bay Half Triathlon, could I have a motion, please? Councillor Browning?
The council consider approving a grant of $2,000 to the Coles Bay Half Triathlon towards the cost of staging the event.
Okay, somebody to second that?
Maybe we should add, I don't know when it is. When is it?
It's in early in February.
22nd of February
Yeah,
2020.
so maybe we should add the 22nd of February 2020.
Yep. Anyone wish to second that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, open for discussion. Councillor Brenny?
Chair, in the last minutes of council meeting, general meeting of 22nd of October, the matter of support of the Bicheno Food and Wine Festival was raised, and there were requests for assistance with regard to various things. And a motion was put and carried unanimously, which related to this issue, in my opinion. And I'll read the previous motion, decision 219. Moved Councillor Bruni, seconded Councillor Churchill, that council contribute traffic control, signage, bollards, witches' hats, wheelie bins, supply of bin liners, transport including supply of a driver for removal of rubbish off-site, and staff time for delivery and waste management, and also provides a cash contribution of $2,000 towards the Bicheno Food and Wine Festival. That was forwarded as a typical events package, so that whenever there was an event, any event that could utilise those services, that there was consistency in the way the council dealt with those issues. And I'm wondering whether this function, this Coles Bay Half Triathlon, is an event that warrants that same sort of equality of treatment, including the donation, which seems to be something that we've granted in the past. I'm not sure whether that's true, but certainly there was a comment about that. It seems to me that there's a really good possibility to make things as consistent as possible. And this is one of those, but we don't know from the report. There's certain indications that traffic, etc., is required to be controlled, but there's no degree as to whether or not we're going to need, 40 kilometres of road control and traffic control and bollards and all that sort of stuff. So maybe it's not applicable in this case, but I would have thought that it'd be really nice to find out whether or not that sort of assistance, traffic control, signage, bollards, witches' hats, wheelie bins, bin liners, etc., is consistent.
My concern on this one, it says this event is now going into its 9th year.
Yeah.
And we discussed all about this with the Bichno Food and Wine. At what point do they become self-sufficient, self-sustainable, whatever word you want to use? And just having that continued, backstop of council being there with $2,000. It says that it costs $10,000, the cost of running the event. Well, what is the income? We've got no financials. $2,000 is not a small amount of ratepayer money. And, we asked for financials. We asked for quite a bit of information from the Bichno Food and Wine. And then this one comes in and it's got very little information. 9th year, we've also got until February. So I would not support this. What I would like to see is further information's obtained, including financials, what was requested, not necessarily supplied by the Bichno Food and Wine, but, what's the business plan, what's the income, what's their financial position, and I think it needs to be clear that we're not going to continue to fund these sort of events to this level. And I agree with Councillor Breeny that the pack, the pack of bins and so forth, that's something that we could be providing. But yes, this constant, and also I don't understand why this is coming out of the Community Small Grants Program when again it's an event, definitely event. So as it stands, I wouldn't support it. If it came back with all the information, I probably wouldn't support $2,000 because I don't think a Bichno Food and Wine was 3,500 people and we gave them $2,000. So this is nothing like 3,500, I don't think, from memory. They were actually seeking 3,000. That's worse. So yeah, that's sort of where I'm at. Councillor Browning?
Yeah, I was just going to say, through the Mayor, that I see this half triathlon as an event, whereas I see the volunteer fire brigade lollies for Christmas as a community
event.
Yeah.
So
Needs to be clarified where the money's coming from and.
If I may, it says that the committee is seeking funding to provide additional toilet amenities, portaloos, and rubbish removal skip bin, and this pertains to what Councillor Breeny was talking about, to help cater for extra visitors in the area. Fund will also go towards medical assistance, insurance, and tourism promotions. That tourism promotion is a bit of a concern. There, I thought it was an event, not a. But like with regards to with what Councillor Breeny was saying about the package.
admissible pack.
Yes, I would support, as it stands today, that the amount that they've asked for would be reduced to 1,000, and then look at it again next year. But that's entirely up to the mover and the second. I'm the seconder, so with that pack that we have
Okay,
for events.
Councillor Browning, what do you think? So it's a reduction to $1,000 and an offer of the pack, the festival pack.
Without getting the through the mayor, without getting the information about the costings?
And probably that it needs to be severely tightened up going forward, that things that come to us, you know, they can't continue to come to us like this. Hold on a moment, councillor Brenny.
Okay, $1,000, yeah, all right, I'm happy with that, and the events package. And yes, going forward, we need to get some clarity around how we deal with these.
Yep. More information.
Yeah.
Yep, more appropriate information.
Yeah.
Councillor Brenny.
I'm wondering why we don't ask for more information now.
Well, it could be, yep.
And which would mean changing the motion pretty dramatically to say that the council defers this matter subject to the Coles Bay Half Triathlon providing further information with regard to the financial, whatever
Yeah, I'm happy with
whatever
that.
we call that.
Yep.
And to notify us as to whether or not a proposal for contribution by council of traffic control, signage, bollards, witches' hats, wheelie bins and supply of liners and transport for the removal of rubbish off-site and staff for delivery and waste management is considered appropriate for their event. In other words...
Okay, so can we just cut to the chase and just say that this matter is deferred to the general manager to obtain further information relevant to this event.
Yes.
It's on recording what you just said, and to bring it back to council
Is that okay with you?
to its 17th of December meeting.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fine by me.
Did you get what I just said? Don't ask me to repeat it, because I don't know what I said.
She's typing
Doing
away
really
now.
well.
The council defer to the general
Through-
manager to provide.
December 17 December 2009, 19, I don't even know what year it is.
To the,
Yeah. I'm the happiest with that motion.
Yeah.
yeah.
Or is it
Oh, so that would be if councillor Browning is happy.
If you're happy with that.
Yeah,
To
and me.
amend.
it's an it's a completely different motion.
Mhm.
But if she's the one who's changing it, and the seconder
council
agrees.
defer to the general manager to provide further.
I would
If she was putting it.
think
17th of December.
We haven't voted on the previous motion, and it wasn't complete and was subject to
Consider
amendment.
approving is what I read as the motion, so.
So after discussion, you've changed your motion?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Council defer to the general manager to provide further information in regards to this event.
Yep.
8th of December 2019.
Ordinary meeting, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
Yep. I'm happy.
Councillor Browning, okay. Deputy Mayor
Yes.
Woods, okay.
Yep.
Put the motion, all those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Preston A Association Incorporate purchase of printer. Could I have a motion, please?
The council approves a grant of $1,000 from the Community Small Grants Program to the Freycinet Association Inc. to purchase a printer to produce the newsletter Echoes Around the Bay.
Somebody to second? Councillor Brenny, open for discussion. Councillor Brenny?
There is a comment in the background. Many people and other community groups such as Men's Shed, Friends of Freycinet and Freycinet National Park would benefit from a printer that FAI could make accessible to them. Also, using the newsletter to publish information from these community groups is a great benefit for the community. Council could also use it, I presume, for the publish of the council's regular newsletter to the community that we send through various, through...
Oh, we print that here and send it, we don't print it up
Oh,
there.
okay. But one of the things that I would really like to make sure was that accessibility to those to those groups is unconditional. In other words, the Freycinet Association needs to be fully aware, or made fully aware in notification that they've received funding from us, that printer is available to local groups, community groups, for their unconditional use.
Well, we don't know where it's going to be positioned.
No.
We don't know, and I don't think it's going to be unconditional use because we all know the cost of ink.
Yeah.
And the cost of ink well outweighs the cost of a printer. And why are we funding anything for the Freycinet National Park? That's state government. I don't understand why we'd be, as ratepayers, funding a printer for Freycinet National Park.
Friends of Freycinet.
Friends of Freycinet and and is that something else?
Presumably it's friends of both.
Right, okay, friendly people.
Yeah.
I just think it's a lot of money and there's not much of a contribution. If all the groups in the towns come in and ask for that amount of money, we'd be out of money within 2 months.
Yes. 20 groups,
Yep.
20 printers,
Yeah.
20,000.
And, I just think it's an awful lot of money. And even though it's going to cover different groups, hold on a moment, come to Browning, even though it's going to cover various groups, I still don't think, I think there needs to be more of a contribution. I would prefer to see $500 contribution, and on the condition that it is made available to the groups as listed, That's sort of where I look at this one. Councillor Browning.
Through to me, I mean, I just want to say that ink is worth about $2,000 a litre.
Yeah. Rightio. Yes, Councillor Churchill.
I just want to make the comment that they are a small community base in their defence. There's not a lot of people there to contribute to this in terms of dollars and cents. And I totally agree that we would be buying the whole thing. I'm very happy that to reduce, I would support reducing the amount, but I still think we should be trying to commit something to this.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think anyone disagrees with that. It's the amount, and it's been consistent with other community groups in the area, and they do produce a newsletter which, like the Great Oyster Bay News, they could charge for ads and so forth, as the Great Oyster Bay News do, who are also a voluntary group. So there is a way of, of obtaining an income. But that's up to, well, that's just my thought. Deputy Mayor Woods, what are you thinking?
Well, I'm not in favour of lowering the amount. These people don't ask for too much, and I take on board what Councillor Churchill said. They're a small community group that are trying to do the best that they can with what they've got. I would prefer to leave the value at $1,000 because they've now got to pay for the ink. So any way we can help, I think, would be beneficial to the Freycinet community.
Okay, so at this point, so the motion as it stands, it's $1,000. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Councillor Churchill and Councillor Woods. And against? Councillor Pike, Browning, Breeny and Wisby. The motion is lost. Would somebody like to move it?
Can I move a counter motion or?
You can move another motion.
I move that council approves a grant of $500 to the Freycinet Association Incorporated to purchase a printer to produce newsletters echoes around the bay from the community's small grants program.
Did you say $500?
Yes.
Okay. For the use of various community groups.
Yes. Thank you.
Somebody to second that? Councillor Pike, any discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll support this, but I'll support it and have it noted that I think that it's a sad day when we can't support.
No, we're not going to note that. That's
Freycinet.
not appropriate.
Oh well, I've just said it anyway.
Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. Lions Club of Spring Bay Christmas Parade. Could I have a motion, please?
That council approves a grant of $1,000 to the Lions Club of Spring Bay towards the cost of staging the annual Christmas parade in Tribunna.
And somebody to second? Councillor Pike. Open for discussion. Councillor Browning?
Going back to consistency,
Mm-hmm.
Swansea parade, Christmas parade got $500. We're giving $500 to Buckland. I can't see why it shouldn't be $500 to Tribunna.
Yes, and 7.10 is the Tribunna Volunteer Fire Brigade. I think that one goes to Orford and all over the place, but
Okay, so
the
two
Tribunna
teams.
one sort of does. Hold on a moment, Councillor Brenny. The Tribunna Fire Brigade, I remember them coming to Orford, so I think that does go out there, but that doesn't take away from what you have just said in that what was given to Swansea, Coles Bay, wherever, so, and also this motion doesn't refer to what grants, does it come out of the small community grants
Yeah.
program?
So it would read that the council approves a grant from the community small grants program of $1,000 to the Lions Club of Spring Bay towards the cost of staging the annual Christmas parade in Tribunna.
Okay, and, yeah, so understand what you're saying, Councillor Browning. Councillor Brenny?
I understand what, through the chair, what Councillor Browning was saying in relation to consistency. The one thing I notice here is that there is an estimated cost of $2,000 and that a free barbecue, community, soft drinks and lollies for the kids, as well as prizes for best floats, and the inclusion of Scottish Pipe Band are included in this event, which seems to sort of indicate a lot more organisation and a lot more put into it, and therefore I'm happy to accept the $1,000 grant.
I've attended this event on quite a few occasions, and it is a pretty big event, and there's a lot put into it, and the drinks are free. I think it's the can of cordial free for the kids. I think the
Ice
sausages
creams,
are
everything's free.
So it is a pretty big event for the people at Tribunna, and people come from Orford, Buckland, and down from Swansea. So it is a pretty big event. So I understand the consistency, but I also understand how big this one is in comparison. Any further comment?
Yeah,
Yep.
if I may. Yeah, this is a big event, and also the Lions Club of Spring Bay do a fabulous job. You know, they've been putting this on for many, many years, and their membership is dwindling, so they need all the help that they can actually get. And if we as a community can do that, that I think is a good thing. So I fully support the $1,000 grant.
Okay, any further comment? No, put the motion, all those in favour? It's unanimous, thank you. Tribunna Fire Brigade, 7.10. Councillor Brenny?
Move the motion that council approves a grant of $500 to the Tribunna Volunteer Fire Brigade towards the cost of conducting the annual Christmas Eve community lolly run
Okay, somebody to second.
from the Community Small Grants Program.
You know what I was going to say. Councillor Churchill. Okay, open for discussion. So they do say they're conducting the, did it say something? Brigade towards the cost of conducting the
$800
annual
down the bottom.
community lolly run.
$800.
They cost the project 800, yeah, want 500. But as I say, they do go to Orford.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
says Barton Avenue.
Oh,
Yeah, Sally
okay.
Beach.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's been a long meeting.
It has been actually.
Okay, no issue with this. Any comment? Put the motion, all those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Oh, item 8. Ocean tracking document. I've got a few things here to note, so
Get your pens ready.
get your pens ready. Page 134. So, item 8.1, which is the second one down, which is decision 1317, the second line. That's already been reported as complete in the last agenda. the previous month, as was 5018, 5118, 14018, 118, 19, a heap more over the page, 15919 through to 16619. So all those were already recorded as complete, so they need to be removed because once they're reported as complete.
Yep.
Excuse me. Yeah. So it's, yeah, you can go back and check them all. So 13, 17, 50, 18, 51, 18, 140, 18, 118, 19, 159, 19 through to 166, 19. Any update on the fast charging for electric vehicles in Glamorgan Spring Bay? Decision Council 26th of March 19.
There's a report there that needs to be circulated to council, which I will undertake to do.
Okay, over the page, so I've already noted that all that block was already done. Missing from this motion tracking document are all the motions, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 motions missing from the 16th of October 19 council meeting. So all those have not been included. My question here is the Bicheno Dog Park that wasn't approved, and I think we discussed this before, and we was asking for the money to be approved to be spent on the hall and the
Playground equipment.
yeah. So that was part of that motion. So have you contacted the federal government about getting approval to use those funds for?
I received mixed advice as to whether it was actually required to be undertaken, to be frank, but so I'm not sure that it actually needs to be advised to the federal government, but I can advise them about
Whether
it.
or not you need to seek that advice
Yeah.
from the federal government to use it somewhere else?
Yeah, I'm not sure that's the case.
Oh, no, because you can't not build a dog yard. That, it's an approved
Yeah.
project,
Okay.
yeah, I just can't see how you couldn't.
Okay.
Not that you didn't paint a wall, it's like you didn't build a $25,000 dog yard. Yeah, it'd probably be
Well,
good
I'd
to.
advise them, yeah.
And also confirm that whether Martin Crawford has been requested to be Master of Ceremony from the 16th of October 19.
I had some advice that we had approval on that. I had some advice that was undertaken and we had gained agreement for him to do the task.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Martin's been advised.
Yeah, he has been, according to Lone.
Okay, and any update on the consent to lodge a DA cricket practice net Swansea Recreation Ground? Further discussion with Recreation Reserve users to determine alternative location for nets requested.
Yeah, so there was a little bit of negotiation in regards to that, and there was, we recently were requested to supply some advice in regards to that strip of land. It would seem that the original request put in is pretty much the only viable option. Some of the other options were investigated and deemed to be not suitable.
So what's the outcome?
The outcome, it's going to go back to the original location that was proposed in the first place, and then it'll come to council for consideration.
Okay, so it's coming back to
Yeah.
council, radio.
Yeah.
Then over the page, so 168.19 through to the bottom, they've all been already marked as complete, so they, yep.
Come off, yeah.
And then I'm asking has there been any update on the 24th of September, the top one, speed limit review, Cambria Drive, council approval for submission to be made to state growth in progress. So has that letter gone out? Because I drove through Buckland and I see the signs are still at 80 with the summer time coming up and increased traffic. I'm just wondering, has that letter gone?
I know the request was made, and I was told it was, under control. I'm not sure where we are. Maybe the letter's gone in and just the action hasn't been taken. I'll chase that one up for you.
Thanks. That's all my comments are on that document. Anyone else got any comment? Okay, could I have a?
No.
Did you?
I have
Oh, you
just,
do.
Sorry, just a quick question. The very first one, 8.2 there, dating back on Solus. When do we consider that to be not in progress? I mean, it's been sitting there since 2014, as I understand it, and when does it? I mean, this is seriously just a question I need answered. I don't know.
I think it could come off. I mean, we obviously have discussion with the developers, we've had a workshop with them. It's just like anyone else, we discuss things. I don't think, it's pretty obvious that council aren't going to build a golf course now, so
That's right.
I think it can go on as complete and.
That'd be good, yeah. Reasonably remove it, yeah.
Okay, can I have a motion, please, from page 138?
I'll move that council receives and notes the information contained within the motion tracking document with amendments.
A few.
With what a few. I'm not going to go through them.
No, second. Okay, all those in favour, it's unanimous. Okay, questions without notice? None, moving, now we've got to go into confidential item, closed session. So I declare the meeting closed to the public in order to endorse minutes from the closed session of the ordinary council meeting held on the 16th of October. Under Regulation 34 of the Local Government Meeting Procedure, Regulation 2015, Statutory Rules 2015, Number 38, Regulation 34(6), at the next closed meeting, the minutes of a closed meeting, after any necessary corrections, are to be confirmed as a true record by the council or council committee and signed by the chairperson of the closed meeting. So,
I'll move that council moves into closed session at 7:24.
second that, Councillor Pike, and I'm going to adjourn the meeting for no longer than 5 minutes. I need a little break. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Your stamina is just amazing.
It's a pre-season ticket I've got. This has been dealing with people walking our garden fence.